Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Outwit Travel Safe Final Rows. This is Kaylee here. It has been a little bit of a hot sec. I did not realize how much effort making 3 podcasts in a week on top of being a full-time college student, on top of having another full-time job, on top of being in clubs, on top of just generally wanting to have a life would take on me. So I have spent the past week or so just trying to figure out how life is going to work if I continue this podcast. So I just want to let you all know I am still watching all the shows and everything and enjoying all of them. I am taking the time to figure out which shows I'm going to focus on in the future. I think I'm just going to, while I'm in college, at least try to focus on one show at a time. Probably Survivor is going to be the one that is put in priority, but I am still watching the shows. I will still post about the shows on my other social media for this podcast and things like that. And I will try to make like a season overview maybe once the seasons are wrapping up of like The Amazing Race and The Bachelor. So that is kind of what I'm thinking going forward. Any ideas? Let me know on how to balance things better, but that's where I'm at the moment. But in the past week, we have gotten the drop of the cast of season 42 of Survivor. So I'm really excited. This is the first time that I've ever really gone in depth about the cast beforehand and made like a full cast analysis and winner prediction and things like that before the show was even airing. With season 41, I, watched the videos as they were coming out on the Survivor Instagram, but I never really made a list or really did in-depth analysis of them. But this was really fun for me to do. I procrastinated another project to do this instead. So I did that earlier this week. The project's done now, I promise. Working on this was a really good time, and I thought I would share it just to get some content up. Also, I apologize for my voice right now. It is full-on allergy season for me at the moment. I am on many cold and sinus medications, so if my voice is sounding a little bit awkward, allergy season is a thing. Okay, so for those who are not aware, Survivor is my favorite show of all time. I have watched religiously since I could comprehend what television was. The first time I remember watching a full season with my parents was Survivor China in 2007. For context, I would have been 7 years old at the time that this season of Survivor aired. I am 22 now, and I've watched every season ever since. Growing up, I didn't have many people other in my life than my mom who I would talk to about Survivor, so we have that in common. And when I got to college, I met a small group of people within my business fraternity who are also really obsessed with Survivor, one of them being my big, which was pretty great. So we have a small group who will occasionally do watch parties and things like that. Me and one of my other friends in the business fraternity have started on Fridays watching all of the episodes of Australian Survivor that came out that week, since they released like 3 per week. So Survivor has just always been a big part of my life, and I am so excited for season 42. I was a huge fan of season 41. Still had some issues. I can get into that more probably because I'm guessing 42 is going to have similar issues, but we'll get into that later as they come up. Getting into the cast. It has been released that there are going to be 3 teams again, which I am okay with. The 3 teams consist of the Vati tribe, also have the Taku tribe. I apologize if I'm pronouncing any of these wrong. Jeff will tell us how they're pronounced in episode 1. And then we have the Ika tribe. So first, how I'm going to organize this podcast is I am going to go over each of the tribes and each member who is going to be a part of each of these tribes. If you are listening on YouTube, I will try to make chapters for each person who is going to be on this season. And then if you're on like Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, anything like that, you're just gonna have to listen through. But if you're listening on YouTube, I'm gonna make chapters for each of the players and then my overall how I think the boot order is going to go. Do I have any rhyme or reason for this boot order I made? Not really. It doesn't take into account what tribes they're on or anything like that. This is just like if this was fantasy football or something. I've never played fantasy football. I don't know if this is any way similar. This is like my fantasy boot order for how this season is going to go. So I'm probably very wrong, but it's fun to do. So we will see. Okay, so going into the cast analysis, I'm going to start with the Vati tribe, and we are going to be talking about Chanelle. So Chanelle is 29. Her current state she resides in is New York. She is an executive recruiter. Her hobbies include exploring, trying new food, and blogging. The 3 words that she uses to describe herself is cunning, competitive, and cultured. Her biggest pet peeve is slow walkers, which same here. I'm short, but I tend to walk very quickly. I completely agree with her. Her biggest accomplishment is creating a mentorship program to help young women get into professional spaces, which I really appreciate as a young woman who is going into professional spaces after I graduate. Something we wouldn't know about her just by looking at her, she says, is that she can crunch numbers in her head, which she thinks is going to help her with the numbers game that Survivor really is. Her hero, as many people are going to say, are her parents. She wants to repay them by winning the $1 million. The survivor she's most like, and you're going to be hearing this quite a bit, is Kim Spradlin from One World. She says that she played the perfect game, though that is technically not true. Only JT and Cochran have ever played technically perfect games. For those who don't know what a perfect game is a person who has gone through the entire game without getting a single vote cast against them until the final tribal council for the million, where they get every single vote cast for them. That is what Survivor considers a perfect game. Kim did not get that, although she did play a very good game. So I'm not sure if she meant perfect game in the technical sense or just she thinks her game was flawless. Kim's a good Survivor to try to emulate, in my opinion. And the reason why they think they can win is they're a student of the game and their motivation to get through cold nights and hungry days is very high. So she thinks that she's going to do very well in the elements, and she thinks she knows the game well enough to get her pretty far. And what Survivor has started doing, at least I noticed this in 41, I could be wrong if they've done it in the past before, but they've been making videos that they've been releasing on their Instagram. So I watched through each of their videos and took some notes about things that they said. So things that Chanelle said during her video was that she can talk her way into any situation. She's a Harvard grad and a good negotiator. She wants to listen to people rather than talking, and so she kind of wants to be more in the background. And she came up with a list to make her money and to make her happy, and playing Survivor was at the top of both of those lists, so she's super excited to be on this season. Overall, she seems like a pretty good player. She's kind of giving me Liana vibes, but hopefully, no shade to Liana, but I kind of got annoyed with her a little bit in last season, but she is giving Liana vibes. I hope she kind of pulls Liana, but better. Next, we have Daniel. Daniel is 30 years old. He currently resides in Connecticut. His occupation is he is a law clerk, and his hobbies are that he's a movie fanatic, he's into Legos, he's into just generally keeping track of things, and of course, he is into Survivor. He's the only one who on the bio sheets, all of them said 3 words to describe yourself, but for him it just said words to describe yourself, and they gave 2, which I thought was interesting. The 2 words that he did give are ebullient. I don't know I'm not an English major, for those wondering. That is not my major at all. If I ever say things wrong, I blame it on that. He also says he is driven. Pet peeves are people who are convinced they are right, disruptive people in movie theaters, oatmeal raisin cookies masquerading as chocolate chip. I love that last one because I agree. His biggest accomplishment is that he wrote a journal on personal philosophy on the purpose of life, which was influenced by their battle with cancer, their religion, and their ideological beliefs, which sounds interesting. Something we wouldn't know about them is that they collect signed pocket constitutions, which I'm curious who these are signed by, but he He collects signed pocket constitutions. His hero in life is George Washington and Roddy Edmonds. I don't necessarily know who Roddy Edmonds is, but we all know George Washington is the first president of the United States. So, the survivor he wants to be most like is that he wants to be goofy like Fabio, but model his game after Yule and Todd. Todd is such an underrated winner, in my opinion. Again, he's the winner from Survivor China, the first season I ever watched, so I have a little soft spot in my heart for Todd. But I think this is a good style to be. You want to be likable like Fabio was. He really got through because he was likable, at least to most people. Maybe not to Nyanka, but he was likable to most people. And Yule and Todd did play very good games. So if he can actually go about this, I think he can do pretty well. And why they think they can win is that they think the odds are against him, but he is going to play his heart out and just kind of go for it. And then in his video, he said that he is technically a lawyer, but he's currently working as a law clerk. Talked about a high school teacher who helped him get into law, and said that his default position is having his hand risen because he is a great student. Overall, he just came off as not very confident that he'll win. He's just kind of happy to be here. He, at one point, was just kind of saying that he doesn't see himself winning, but he's there for the ride, which, is not necessarily the best way to go into the game, in my opinion. I would think you want to be kind of confident you're going to win without being overly cocky. But I don't know. We'll see how he goes. I think he's going to be really fun to watch, but I think his lack of self confidence is kind of going to get him an early boot out of the game. So it'll be interesting to see. Next, we have Jenny. Jenny is 43 years old. She is from New York, and their occupation is a creative director. Their hobbies are travel, Pilates, writing, and watching movies. And the three words Jenny would use to describe herself is direct, open, and compassionate. Pet peeves include arrogant people and those with a sense of entitlement. Biggest accomplishment is not giving up during the recession, and she has adapted well in her life. And since she's a creative director, creative jobs kind of fall in recession, so she was able to power through. Something we wouldn't know is that she can weld, and she worked in a metal shop for over a year. Her hero is her husband, and the survivor she is most like or most wants to play like is good old Kelly Wentworth and Lauren Beck from Edge of Extinction. And why they think they can win is because of her high emotional intelligence. And when it came to the video, she talked about her immigrant parents and her mom being a tiger mom who wants to see her do her best. 99% were not good enough. And the most challenging thing for her being on the island is that she knows she is not going to be the best person who is on the island. And so just kind of getting over that. But she is here to be comfortably uncomfortable and wants to pull back a bit from being a bit more assertive. And she's wanting to have one of those moments where Jeff is super surprised by something she does that she said is her main goal for being out here. And overall, she seems like a fun player. However, I am getting kind of jury vibes from her. I don't know if I necessarily see her making the final three, but we will get back to that when I discuss my boot order. Also on this tribe is Hai. Hai is 29 years old. He is originally from Vietnam, but he currently lives in Louisiana. Occupation is a data scientist. Hobbies include traveling, his dogs, and cooking. The three words he uses to describe himself are aggressive, astute, and audacious. Pet peeves include judgmental people and those who wear shoes in the house. Biggest accomplishment for him is that he is a first generation college student and the youngest associate director of data analytics at the company he currently works for, which is really cool to see. I'm also a first generation college student, so it's fun to see them. Something we wouldn't know from looking at him is that his family grew up in extreme poverty, but he has kind of come out of that a little bit. His hero is his mom. And the survivor he most wants to be like, he wants to say Parvati, but he thinks he's going to play more of an Aubrey game. Aubrey was from Edge of Extinction and the second Brain Brawn Beauty season, which I think is a perfectly good game to play by. If she wouldn't have made it farther, she could have had a very good chance at winning, at least in the first season she played. So, I think Aubrey's a good person to emulate. Parvati, like, nobody can be Parvati. We all want to be Parvati, but none of us can be Parvati. And why they think they can win is that he has a well-rounded and great logical sense, and he does not see any alternatives to coming home with the $1 million check. In the video, he says that he can read a room better than a book and that he was a latchkey kid growing up. So he was basically raised by Survivor while his parents were at work. And how his idol is Yule, because Yule on Cook Island showed how that Asian men can be confident, powerful, and sexy. And he is looking forward to this season of the game. And overall, I just really like him. I think he's going to be a super fun player, and I will get into his standings later. Next, we have Lydia. Lydia is on the younger side of this season. She is 22. Current state she lives in is Santa Monica, California. Occupation currently is a waitress, but she is also a college student. Hobbies include writing, comedy, music festivals, roller skating, watching movies specifically by herself or themselves. If I get any of their pronouns wrong, I apologize and I will get it right in future episodes, but I'm just going based off kind of how they're describing themselves and what is said in the interviews, so I apologize in advance. Her pet peeves are people wasting her time. Biggest accomplishment is staying true to herself throughout everything and also riding the Disneyland Ferris wheel, even though she has a deathly fear of Ferris wheels. And something we wouldn't know is that on top of Ferris wheel, she is also afraid of vacuum cleaners. Her hero is Kristen Wiig, who is an actress. And the survivor, they describe themselves as Tom Westman and Suri, as some people who are calm and want to listen back and kind of take a more stepped back approach to the game while still making good moves. But she did also say that throughout the game, they may possibly become crazy like Debbie from the second round of Brain Brawn Beauty, which, God, I hope not. Debbie is one of my least favorite Survivor players of all time, so I hope that she doesn't get to this point. Why they think they can win is they are likable, funny, smart, and strategic, and they are also young but have the ability to hold their own, so they're hoping that the tribe won't just read them overall as young, naive, that type of thing. And she's also willing to make big moves in the game. In the video, they talk about how the game means a lot to her. Her family is also super excited for her, and that she is planning on listening more than she talks, and wants to kind of be the little sister of the tribe, but she is always thinking. She wants people to not underestimate her, but also a little bit because she's just kind of sitting back and thinking. Overall, I like her. I want her to make the merge. Overall, I don't necessarily see her winning. But again, we will get into that later. Last for the Vati tribe, we have Mike. Mike is 58 years old. He is from New Jersey and he's a retired firefighter. Hobbies include working out, sports, watching movies, and 3 words that Mike would use to describe himself is loyal, loud, and fair. Pet peeves include people leaving cereal boxes open and people who are late. His biggest accomplishment is raising his children. Something we wouldn't know is he describes himself as he is sensitive and smart and that he is a very caring person. But since he is from Jersey, he kind of can come across maybe not that way. His hero is that he doesn't necessarily have heroes per se, but he has people in his family that he looks up to. Survivor most like, he would love to play a game like Boston Raw because everybody would love to do that. And why they think they can win is they believe they are going to be a challenge beast, a good worker, and they believe people will like him. In the video, he talks about how he moved his way up in the ranks of being a firefighter, and you don't know what you're going to do in like the heat of a moment like a fire or like Survivor until you're in the moment. He is a loud talker, so he's hoping to be quieter, as when he's strategizing he doesn't want to just be shouting across the entire tribe what he's planning on doing. but he knows he's going to be a good worker, and he's hoping to hide his New Jersey like bee face. Overall, in where I see Mike, older men, at least as of late, tend not to do as well on Survivor, especially when they say that he has a Hoboken loud talk and things like that. I just don't know if on a tribe of relatively younger people that he is going to mesh well, but I hope he does. He seems like a nice person. People are just, I think, going to misread him based on age gaps and just general mannerisms differences, I think, which is unfortunate, but I hope that he makes it farther than what I am thinking now. Right now, I kind of see him around a merge boot, but again, we'll get into that. Next, we have the Taku tribe. This tribe, first off, is made up of Johnathan. Johnathan is 29 years old. He is from Alabama. His occupation is that he is a beach service company owner. Hobbies include working out, spearfishing, and surfing. 3 words that Johnathan would use to describe himself is endurance, devoted, and mentally strong, which is 4 words, but okay. Pet peeve is wearing shirts, bullying, and disrespectful people. Biggest accomplishment is that he has a world record for the most pull-ups with 100 pounds additional weight on him. Something we wouldn't know is apparently he can sing the perfect Part of Your World from The Little Mermaid. And specifically that song and that song alone, apparently. His hero is Lex Luger, who is a professional wrestler. Had to look that up a bit beforehand. The survivor he is most like is Ozzy, according to him, which I can see he will be trying to emulate that type of Ozzy personality. We'll see how close he gets to an Ozzy, though. Why he thinks he can win is that he has the athleticism that will help him in challenges, and he has the charm to help him with his social skills. He is strong-willed, determined, and he does not give up. In the video, he describes himself as he has planned for this for the past 14 years. He works on a beach, he spearfishes, he's ready to be that provider. He currently wants to win the most immunities ever won in a season, and he wants to approach the game as a server and a leader for his tribe. Overall, I don't see somebody like him preparing for strategy much. At least it hasn't come across that way in the video or in the interviews that they did beforehand. Doesn't seem like he's really preparing for the strategic portion of the game. He's mainly focusing on the physical portion of the game, which, I mean, I see somebody like him doing, but we'll see how good he does. I see him as somebody who people are either going to take to just before the merge or just after, but the second they lose an immunity challenge, he's going to be booted, like those type of people. People don't typically want somebody who is winning every immunity to still be on their tribe. Okay, next we have Maryanne. Maryanne is 24. They live in Ontario, Canada, and their occupation is they are a seminary student. I don't necessarily know what seminary is. I'm assuming it's a Canadian thing, but overall, let's just say they're a student. Their hobbies are tabletop and video games. They like reading and snowboarding. Words they would use to describe themselves are energetic, empathetic, and chaotic. Pet peeves include people who don't listen, slow walkers, hypocrites, and people who don't apologize, which I feel like she's going to have to deal with quite a bit because people will make moves and not apologize for them because it is Survivor. Biggest accomplishment was writing an article that led to her being invited to consult with her university's D&I officer on creating a better framework for Black students. Something we wouldn't know just by looking at her is that she is a great listener. She is hoping to just kind of play that listening game, which as I'm reading all these back now, it seems like a lot of people are trying to play the more laid back listening game, but we'll see how many actually do. Her hero is her mother. The survivor she is most like is Davy from David versus Goliath. Why they think they can win is they believe that she believes she can win with her social skills, and she is not going to be going down without a fight. And in her video, she describes herself as having strong social skills and being able to make bonds easily. The hardest thing will be to break her bonds as the game goes on, which I think is going to potentially help be her downfall, because you have to be willing to go back on previously made bonds in the game of Survivor without much remorse about it. Her parents are also kind of confused why she wants to be on Survivor. Her parents were immigrants, and so they were saying, if you want to be on Survivor and be in the woods and make fire and all that, we could just take you back home. Why would you want to be on Survivor? Which I thought was a little bit funny. But she is overall just excited to be here. She seems like she's going to be amazingly fun television. But overall, she does seem to be a bit immature, and I can see her possibly going home early because of her immaturity. I don't necessarily read her as a huge strategist, and I think she's going to be her own downfall. Next, we have Omar. He is 31 years old and also from Ontario, Canada. His occupation is he is a veterinarian. His hobbies include training animals, the game Settlers of Catan, and watching TV. 3 words he uses to describe himself are silly, empathetic, and shameless. Pet peeves include people who complain about the cost of vet care, gym grunters, Joey from Friends. I take offense to that. Joey is great. Mini wheats having gelatin, when people talk bad about pigeons, and institutional racism. He has a lot of pet peeves, some of them more valid than others. Biggest accomplishment was getting into vet school, because apparently vet school in Canada is very hard to get into, so good for him. And also maintaining his Muslim values while in college. Also being able to deal with his father's death. Something that we wouldn't know by looking at him is he had a difficult childhood financially and emotionally, and he is also afraid of condiments. Yes, condiments, probably, I'm guessing, like ketchup and mustard. How somebody can be afraid of those, I don't know. We will see. His hero is his father. A survivor he is most like is Rob Sesternino because of his strategic prowess. Cerie Fields for her ability to sit, watch, and strike. Tyson Apostle for his sass. Kim Spradlin for her social skills, and Natalie Anderson for her laser focus. He's hoping to be the amalgamation of a lot of the greats. Why they think that he can win is he has the ability to adapt and connect with other players, and he has good social awareness. And from the video, he says you never know what to expect at work, which can translate to Survivor, as he is an exotic animal vet, which is pretty cool. He's trying to figure out who everyone is. He wants people to see him as kind of stupid, but he low-key has a predatory sense and knows when to strike. Overall, has he been in something else? I feel like I have seen this man before. He came on and he looks so familiar, and just the situation of like him being an exotic animal vet just seems so familiar to something, but I can't put my finger on it. So if you know, let me know so I can stop thinking about where I've seen this man before. I feel like Omar is somebody who is going again to be his own downfall. I feel like he is going to play a bit too hard too fast, which in this new game you're wanting to play a bit harder from the beginning, but I think he is going to be the first one to strike, whereas the first one to try to make a strike is usually the one who ends up being sent home. Overall, I see him as a pre-merge boot unless he can get into a power alliance. Like, he gives off Ricard vibes to me a bit. If he can get in a power alliance like Ricard and Shan were earlier on in season 41, I think he could be farther than where I have him currently placed. But I don't know. We will see. Again, he gives me Ricard vibes, so I'm hoping he's a good player to watch, but I'm still a little apprehensive at the moment. Next, we have Lindsey. Lindsey is 31 years old. They currently live in New Jersey. They are a dietitian. Hobbies include flag football, interior decorating around the holidays, and high adrenaline activities. 3 words Lindsey uses to describe herself is loud, talkative, and intense. And she described exactly why each of those words were there in her 3 words. Pet peeves include wasted time and slow and quiet talkers, which seems like a very New Jersey answer. Biggest accomplishment is starting her own business. Something we wouldn't know is that they play tackle football. Her hero is her younger sister. And the survivor she wants to be most like is Lauren Beck from Island of the Idols, as Lauren was self aware and social game is what dictated what dictates who gets voted out and when. Why they think they can win is they want to look for cracks for when people have stupid moments and then exploit those stupid moments. In the video, she says the game has always been on her mind. She is very competitive and she does not want to be pushed around. She also describes herself as Stephanie LaGrossa from Survivor Palau and says that she relates to her and she's going to try to get out of her head and just kind of enjoy the experience while also still being good strategically. She's another one who I kind of feel is going to be her own downfall. However, I have the feeling that she will make the merge, but will probably be going out soon after that. Usually, people who are a bit more loud are perceived to be a threat or that they are acting as a leader. So, we will see how she deals with that. And then going on, we have Jackson. Jackson is 48. They live in Texas and they are a healthcare worker. Hobbies include puzzles, weightlifting, and dog walking. The words they use to describe themselves are kind, dedicated, and assertive. Pet peeves include being unorganized, no schedules, and people who don't get to the point. Biggest accomplishment is that they own their own company. Something we wouldn't know about them is they are transgender, and overall they are covered in tattoos, but they love animals. Hero is his mom. Survivor, most like. They want to be like Elaine from Island of the Idols because Elaine was hardworking, confident, resilient, and played a hell of a mind game on everybody else. Why they think they can win is they believe it'll be the hardest thing that they ever do, even harder than coming out and things like that. But he is a survivor in life, and he is hoping that his life experiences will help in the game. In the video, they say that Survivor makes them think that anything is possible and they are ready to become a better person because of Survivor. They have lived on their own since coming out and people are going to underestimate him, but he wants to use his southern charm to come through and also is wanting to play an honorable game. Overall, I really like their personality. I think they're going to be fun to watch. I I don't see them really being a big strategic player, but we will see. Next, we have Marya. I think it's Marya. We will see. Age 47, current state is Indiana. Occupation is a stay at home mom. Hobbies include gardening, writing poetry, and Pilates. 3 words Marya would use to describe herself is spicy, smart, and loving. Pet peeves for Marya include when, and I quote because this was amazing, when someone has a big ol' snuffleupagus sneeze and doesn't cover their nose, oh my. Also mean people. I love that term because I've heard those types of sneezes and I agree. Their biggest accomplishment is living the life that they want and respecting herself. She also has a bunch of teaching awards and also her kids are her biggest accomplishment. Something we wouldn't know is that she tends to take on leadership roles, but is a bag of learning from her previous mistakes. She is also a big softie. Her hero is Curious Kelly. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. They were the first nurse to die from COVID in New York, and Curious was also her brother, which was really sad to read about. The survivor they are most like is Angelina and Tony. Especially Tony has big shoes to fill. Angelina, we will see how that goes, if she's the good parts or the bad parts of Angelina. I mean, same with Tony. We'll see if she's more of a game changers Tony or a winners at war Tony. Why they think they can win is because of their emotional intelligence. They can read people really well. And if she can make it to the final 3, she says she feels like she can handle herself very well and that she is likable, smart, and savvy. In the video, she said she's excited to be here. Survivor started when she was a new mother, and so that was the show that she watched with her husband when the kid was growing up, and when her kid got old enough to watch TV, they would watch it together, so it's a family show. Tribe, she wants to see her as a mother, but she also wants to be loyal to herself more so than anybody else. And she wants to get her fire back that she feels like she's lost from being a mother. Overall, I really like her so far. I can see her getting past Merge because of her motherly aspect, and motherly figures tend to do pretty well. Hopefully, she can hold her own in challenges after that, but I think that she's going to make it fairly far. Now we are on the last tribe, the Ika tribe, I think it's pronounced. Again, Jeff will let me know how wrong I was in the first episode. The first person we have on this tribe, his name is Rocksroy, I think. Age 44, current state is Nevada. Occupation is a stay-at-home dad. Hobbies include playing with his kids, playing basketball, camping, and golfing. 3 words to describe himself are thankful, calm, and he made sure to note except when driving. Faithful. Pet peeves include drivers who don't use turn signals, people who think that they know everything. Biggest accomplishment is that he is proud of his family and everything his family has done. Something we wouldn't know is that he was an environmental scientist. He is Jamaican and he has been to 20 countries. His hero is his mom. Survivor he wants to be most like is John Cochran, which I think is a pretty good survivor to emulate. I love Cochran. Why they think they can win is that they won't forget who they're playing for, which is his family, and the money is going to help his family quite a bit. In the video, he said that he learned patience from his father, and he wants to be a help with comfort with things like food and fire, as he knows providers tend to stay for a bit. He's really giving me Jeremy vibes, like a true family man that Jeremy was. And I can see him going very far. He is somebody who is going to be a provider while also remaining as not really a threat because he is older. My only question here is his strategy and if he's going to be a good strategist. If he is, I feel like he can make it fairly far. And I see him making it past Merge, but we will see exactly how far. Next, we have Tori. Tori is 25. They live in Arkansas. Their occupation is a therapist. Hobbies include CrossFit and board and card games. 3 words to describe herself are quirky, warm, and self aware. Pet peeves are people who lack self awareness, immaturity, and pettiness. Biggest accomplishment is that she graduated debt free from undergrad and paid 50% of her master's degree before graduating by participating in beauty pageants and from academic scholarships, which, girl, I wish. Again, am graduating in May. Gonna have quite a bit of student loans to deal with, so yay. Something we wouldn't know from looking at them is that she gets stereotyped as the mean girl. What people don't realize is she's very intelligent and a huge nerd. Her hero is Jesus. She comes across as very religious. The survivor she is most like is Kim Spradlin from One World, who was a challenge beast with great social skills. And why they think that they can win is they're the total package. They're a strong social player due to her counseling and psych background, and she is pretty good physically, and she will ask God for guidance whenever she is weak. In the video, she says she's living her family dream. Jesus is first and Survivor is second. People always think she's the mean girl, but again, she's a nerd. She talked about how she likes Harry Potter, so therefore she's a nerd. She is trained in trust because she is a therapist and kind of wants to be a therapist on the island and is here to play. I don't get vibes of her going very far. I don't know. I get the vibe that she's going to be a just before merge boo. She comes off slightly annoying to me personally. We'll see how she is on the actual show, but overall, beforehand, comes off slightly annoying. Next, we have Romeo. Romeo. He is 37. He is from California, and he's a pageant coach. Hobbies include traveling, beauty pageants, and watching Survivor. 3 words he uses to describe himself are competitive, smart, and intuitive. Pet peeves are impatience, slow people, laziness, and those who can't read a room. Overall, I feel like he's going to go too hard too quick just from these pet peeves. Biggest accomplishment is that he always accomplishes his goals, so basically all of them. Something we wouldn't know is how competitive he is. I feel like he's going to come across overly competitive. He hates losing, he hates being wrong, always has to win. I don't know. As you can see, I have kind of mixed feelings about Romeo as of right now. His hero is his mother and father, who were immigrants who were able to create a better life for their family. The survivor they are most like is nobody, because he's here to play a new game and wants to be remembered like the greats like Parvati, Boston Rob, Sandra, stuff like that. Why they think they can win is they're likable, persuasive, and will always find a way to get what he wants. In the video, he said that he's played Survivor his whole life as he grew up very poor and in bad areas. He wants to represent the communities that he is a part of, and he never wants to fail in what he does. And he prepares women for Miss Universe level beauty pageants. He is an early boot, I can just tell. I don't see him coming across necessarily very well, and I don't see him being the best strategist. He kind of comes off to me as a bit of a Colton, I hate to say. I hope he proves me wrong, but that's just the vibes I'm getting from this interview and the video that they showed of him. But I hope he proves me wrong again, but we will see. Next, we have Swati, I think. They are the youngest player on the island at 19. Her current state is California. Occupation is an Ivy League student. Hobbies include reading, theater, and survivor. 3 words they would use to describe themselves are competent, charismatic, and caring, which I've never heard somebody just describe themselves as competent. That just seems weird, but whatever. Pet peeves include people with dreams who don't like to work for them, emotionally manipulative people, and people who try to control her, which I agree. Biggest accomplishment, getting into every college that she applied for and enlisting in the army, and she also directed her own show at one point, I guess. Something we wouldn't know is that she's very open and honest with people. Her hero is Elon Musk because he is wanting to change the world for the better. I mean, I have my own feelings about Elon Musk, but we won't get into that now. Survivor they are most like is Victoria Beaumont from Edge of Extinction and Chaos Cass. Why they think they can win is they've gotten good at getting people to act specifically in her best interest, and she tries to live her life the way that Tony played the game. In their video, they said their focus was on education and they're excited to join the army, and she is very strong from her army training. They are super excited, and their strategy is currently undefined because she wants to be safe for the first few votes, then go for it based on how the game is going. Overall, I don't know how I feel about her. We'll see. She just she doesn't come across to me as somebody who I would like want to be friends with or anything, but that's just my personality. It's a personality clash between me and her, at least what I'm seeing from these interviews. So we will see going forward. Next, we have Zach, who is 22. He currently lives in St. Louis, I'm guessing Missouri. They never specified if it's St. Louis, Illinois or St. Louis, Missouri. Occupation is a student. Hobbies include social strategy games and sketch comedy writing and running. 3 words Zach uses to describe himself is clever, competitive, and a storyteller. Pet peeves include people who don't tip. I agree. Biggest accomplishment is getting into Wash U. Super good school. I have a friend who goes there. Very competitive, so good for him. And his other biggest accomplishment is a sketch comedy show he wrote. Something we wouldn't know is he is a hustler and has worked hard to get everything he has gotten in his life. His hero is his parents. Survivor he is most like is Todd Herzog from Survivor China for not letting anyone know his threat level till it was too late. Also, Jeremy's meat shield strategy from Second Chance. Why they think they can win is they are personable with a vast knowledge of the game, and he is willing to work to win. In the video, he described one of his most important things in life is Survivor, his high school experience, and I'm guessing speech. I listened to it a few times and I couldn't really make out what he was saying, but I'm guessing it's either speech or debate is going to help him win. The hardest part for him is going to be the physicality of Survivor because he's a very skinny dude, but he is hoping that he's going to be very helpful in puzzles because he has a big brain, and he doesn't think he's going to come off as much of a threat. I also believe he's going to play a pretty under the radar game. I think he'll be able to sneak past for the merge. We will see how he goes. He kind of comes off to me as a David versus Goliath Christian, but we will see if he can match that high expectation. And last but certainly not least, we have Drea. Drea is 35. They are our last Canadian from Montreal. Occupation is a fitness consultant. Hobbies include working out and charity work. 3 words to describe herself are resilient, ambitious, and caring. Pet peeves include dishonest people. Biggest accomplishment is she is an All American track runner. Something we wouldn't know is that they have a fear of death. Hero is her mom. Survivor most like is Kelly Wentworth. Why they think they can win is they have the personality, the strength, and the ability to manipulate. In the video, she says how she grew up in San Antonio and basically her entire life was living organized sports. Her high school was actually sponsored by Nike, so she is very athletically ready for the game. And she talked about how she is needing to learn strategy. She is a super fan. And overall, we just didn't get very much information about her. I think she's going to be a fairly early boot, but again, we will get into it. And that is the last person on this season's cast of Survivor. So now we will be going into my fantasy boot order of how I think it's going to go, purely based on the preseason interviews and videos that we have gotten as of today's date. Today is the 12th of February. It's not airing until March. So we may get more information that may change my boot order a bit, but I think I'm going to try to lock it in right now. Again, this is all speculative. I don't know what's going to happen. This is not taking into account people's tribes when everything's happening. I'm kind of going off of the 41 order of things when I'm going like pre-merge, merge, post-merge, all that. So I will describe when I am changing things up at merge and everything, so we will see. Now that we got all that out of the way, let's get into it. So for pre-merge, when people are just getting onto the island, I think the first boot is going to be Drea. Again, Drea has not had much said about her really at all. It's nothing against her personally. It's just based on how much information we have gotten about Drea in the pre-merge. I don't see her as being a big character or somebody who is making it very far past the first boot. So I'm putting her in the first boot spot. Second person being voted out of Survivor this season is Daniel. He is coming across as super unconfident, and the tribe is going to see him as somebody potentially who doesn't necessarily want to be there, even though he is a super fan. And I think it's going to be a fairly straightforward vote to get rid of him just because of how unconfident he is about his ability to perform in the game. Third, this is just kind of a personal thing. It's Romeo. His personality, again, it gives me Colton, and I don't want to see it. I think he is going to try to control the game, but it's going to come off a bit offensive to other people on his tribe. I don't see him going very far just in the way that he comes across initially. He could come across very differently once the game actually starts, but this is what I'm getting from him in the preseason interviews and why I'm putting him in third. Fourth, we have Mike. Again, nothing against him. It's just older men do not tend to go very far as of late, especially because his tribe is made up of a lot of younger people. I just feel like there's going to be a bit of a generational gap there that may put him at a disadvantage. It's no fault of him. I think also potentially with his loud voice, he could come off as aggressive, which is purely a voice thing. If you hear him in the interviews, his voice is just very loud, and we will see how that comes across to everybody. And he seems pretty nice, and I want him to go further than where I am putting him, but I just don't see it in this current moment. Fifth place, I have Maryanne. If she can't get over having the backstab people, she is just not going to go very far. She seems super nice, but I think her immaturity is going to potentially make her make dumb moves like JD did at this exact time last season. So I am putting her in the JD boot spot because she kind of reminds me a bit about how JD played last season. And then 6 is Jackson. He just seems way too nice for this game. I want to be wrong about this, but he just seems so nice, and I'm not sure how well he's going to do with the backstabbing and everything like that. So we will see how he does, but I am putting him here for now just because he seems too nice. Now, this was the point in season 41 when we had the weird merge, but not a merge, and then the whole like hourglass twist and everything. So I'm including that here because they are probably going to do something similar because they haven't gotten the feedback at the point that this was filmed about how people felt about that hourglass twist and things like that. So the person I think is going to be booted right before merge is Tori. She seems like she could potentially come off as fairly aggressive, and at least she has a little bit in the interview. She is very loud. She seems like she's going to want to be that leader. And again, you want to be a leader, but a leader that isn't loud and aggressive about it. And I think that's going to push people the wrong way. I think her initial tribe is going to be fine with it, but once other people are involved, they may have issues trusting her going into the merge. So I think this is why she's going to be booted around this point. So now we are officially merged. The first person I see going out right after merge is Omar. He is another one who I feel could potentially rub people the wrong way once everybody is merged. Again, I hold nothing against him. He seems like a nice enough guy. That's just the vibe I get, and I feel like he's going to be playing the game way too hard. And so we will see how that works out. Ninth place, I have Swati. Could potentially come off as a physical threat due to her military background. She is also really young, and I don't think it's going to be any fault of her own. I just think people aren't going to necessarily want another like Fabio aged person winning the game. I just see her being voted out again, also due to her physical threat from being in the military. That's just the vibe I'm getting. So probably an early merge boot of ninth place or ninth boot. Not 10th place. 10th boot. If I've been saying place this whole time, I mean boot. I don't mean place. Um 10th boot is going to be Jenny. I think she is going to have a pretty good social game, but I think at this point people will potentially see her social game as a threat and try to get her out. People with good social games tend to go far, but if they are too good at their social game, or if they're not good enough at their social game, people are going to start to see through it. So I think this could potentially be around the place where she has her downfall. 11th place, I'm calling it Johnathan. He's going to be going on an immunity streak right when individual immunity challenges comes out. Has to lose a challenge at some point, and I think it'll be around this time of the 11th boot, which would be 8th place. He's one of those people that as soon as he loses a challenge, everybody is going to be going at him because they want a chance to win immunity before the game is over. So he is going to be voted out around this time. Now, Lindsey is going to be 7th place. I think that she could make it far and potentially become a threat. Although, again, her loudness is potentially going to get her in trouble around this time and make the tribe want to get rid of her. I don't see her making a final 5. And then in 6th place, right before the final 5, right before finale episode, Lydia will be going home. At this point, I think Lydia will be friends with a lot of people who are going to be in the jury, and people are going to realize this fact and realize that if she makes it to the end, she comes across as a super likable person. I feel like even if she is part of the reason the blindsides happen, people are going to still like her enough to potentially want to vote for her in the end. If it is a bitter jury, hopefully she is making strategic moves around this time. Again, I don't necessarily see her as being overly strategic, but I think she will be a likable person that would be brought to the end, but people are going to realize the jury likes her, so potentially not the best person to bring with them. So now we are at the finale episode. Final 5, 2 people going out. Final 3. How is this going to work? 5th place, Rocksroy. Another person who is going to be friends with a lot of people. He, again, is an older guy, and that's the reason why I said Mike will go home early, but he is not as much of a outspoken, overly loud person. I feel like he's going to get along with most people. He's going to have a lot of friends who are on the jury. He also has a really good sob story, and people will not want the family man, Jeremy, to be in the end with them, because when he pulls out the family card, there are sympathy votes that could go out. I think fifth place will be him before we get to the final four. And then fourth place, fire making challenge. Who's going to be in it? I think potentially High could win immunity at this point, and High will put Mayra and Chanelle in the fire making challenge. Again, do I have anything of why this would happen? No. This is just what I'm thinking with the final four people who I had left who I think will make it far. So we have Marya, and Chanelle in the fire making challenge, and Marya will not be the one to come out on top. So they will be going home fourth place, last seat on the jury. Now we have the final three. Final three are High, Chanelle, and Zach. Zach, I think, will get no votes or one vote. He has been playing too far of an under the radar game, receive one vote maximum. He's getting third place. It's going to be very close between Chanelle and High. And while Chanelle may her fire making skills, I don't even know what her fire making skills are right now. I just think they would have done a lot better than Marya. While they were impeccable, I think the speech at final three will not come close to High's final three speech. He has a really good story going into the game, and I think he's going to make pretty good moves. So I think it's going to be between the two of them, but my winner pick is going to be High as of right now. That's who I think. We'll see how the game goes. But this is the boot order that I have set for my fantasy survivor boot order. We'll see how it goes. We'll check back in with this as the game progresses and see how well I'm doing. I'm guessing I won't be doing well at all, but we will see. And yeah, so this is my cast analysis and boot order. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below if you're on YouTube or on my Instagram. For those who don't know, this podcast is on a lot of streaming platforms. It is on Anchor, it is on Spotify, it is on Apple Podcasts, and it is on Castbox for those who don't like YouTube. This podcast is also on YouTube with a bit of a video form. Basically, what I've been doing is just putting up pictures while I'm talking. So that's what the video will look like as I'm going through it. But I do also have a YouTube channel, Outwit Travel Safe Final Rose Pod, Outwit Travel Safe Final Rose on any other streaming platforms for podcasts. I also have an Instagram for this podcast called OTSFR podcast. So feel free to follow that. I will let you know when I am posting these podcast episodes. And feel free to subscribe, like, follow, rate, whatever you need to do on whatever platform you are on. It helps me out greatly, and I really appreciate it. So thank you all so much. Enjoy watching the reality shows that are on right now. And yeah, I'm really excited for Survivor to start. I hope you all are too. Have a great week. Bye.